Hi, my name is Bonnie Eggers, and I've been asked to talk to you today about archives and special collections. I'm sorry that circumstances have prevented us from meeting in person. However, I think that this presentation would be more effective as I can demonstrate resources and how to find archival materials in person through this medium. I have worked as an archivist pretty much my entire career, both at a liberal arts setting and here in a music library. It's been one of the more interesting aspects of my employment, and I'm so thankful that I've had so many opportunities to show people the joy of exploration and the excitement of finding something unique and special, and then the possibility of sharing that with others. Why do you think you might use the archives as a performing musician or in your research? You will find that archival materials will inform your performance and interpretation. You can find letters between composers and their friends and collaborators where they discuss their compositions. You could find letters between performers and composers discussing the techniques that will be used and required. You might find a collection of a specific composer whose music is not widely published or available. Digging in the archives might lead you to new repertoire, which you might edit and share through new publications. Your audience will appreciate the time and effort you spend to research your music and to share with them your discoveries. You will build connections with people you find who have similar interests. You will find people who have extensive knowledge of these topics and who are happy to collaborate with you. And you will find that the journey of discovery is fun. Today we're going to talk specifically about why archives exist, what their purposes and scope are, what kind of materials you would expect to find in an archives or special collection. You will find that finding archival material is different than finding library resources. We will look at some exciting new digital collections that are available to you. We will look at a finding aid, whereas library catalogs use specific practices to describe all different types of materials. Archives and special collections use finding aids. These are quite unique. Our discussion will touch on primary sources because many times archives and special collections include these. We'll start by discussing the difference between archives and special collections. Of course, the word archives means permanently valuable records in any format, printed, audio, visual, even physical. Letters, reports, accounts, minute books, draft, final manuscripts, photographs, all related to a specific person, organization, the operations of a business, or the operations of a specific government. An archives is also a specific place or organization that is dedicated to preserving the history of a particular person, group of people, organization, city, university, or a geographical community such as a city, province, or state. These are often located in one place, or they have a dedicated staff, maybe in a larger building or organization such as a library. Countries have specific archives. The National Archives can be found in Washington, D.C. The archives of each President of the United States will be found in their presidential library. I could go on with more examples, but those are just a few. Special collections are more individual collections that are focused on a specific person, a specific topic, or a specific organization. They may be a type of item, such as rare books, documents. They could be a collection of musical instruments or a specific type of instrument. They might focus on a single topic, such as aviation, women's history, or even an organization such as the Double Reed Society. Special collections are created to benefit primarily scholars or by grouping related materials together in one place. They are also created to benefit specific individuals who have interest in the topic or subject or person, and they might keep all of their collections to themselves and not be widely available. Sometimes you will see things come for auction in Sotheby's or other auction houses, and they'll be bought by an individual, and whether that person ever shares the unique item with the public is up to them. You will find that special collections are often given to libraries, archives, museums, and other places so that they can be made more widely available. I am sure you have a lot of experience talking about primary sources in this class and in other classes you have taken. Archives have unique responsibility to preserve primary resources, such as paintings, musical manuscripts, drafts of novels, sculptures, correspondence, diaries, photographs, and any kind of physical object that they hold in their collection. Primary sources come in many different shapes and many different formats, and it's very important in the process to document the primary source and its journey from its original conception to the present time. Archivists use a term called provenance, which is the way that they describe how they obtained the material in hand, that they obtained it legally, and that they can document its life from the very beginning to now. And that's often a very interesting area of study. But that's beyond the point of this presentation. We're going to look at some primary sources that we have in the Robinson Music Library and the Cleveland Institute of Music archives. We had a wonderful president, Victor Babin, who was a great artist and a great collaborator and had friends around the world. And of course, when he became president, he invited his friends to share their knowledge and expertise here in Cleveland. This is a letter he wrote in March 11th, 1967. Actually, it's a letter he received. My apologies, I do not have the letter he wrote to invite Darius Milhaud to come here to perform. But Mr. Milhaud was kind enough to accept his invitation and suggested the performance of a piece by Poulenc called Babar. And he also shares in this letter where his students ended up, his avant-garde students such as Berlioz and others. And he refers to himself as the old patriarch at Mills, the arrière-garde. So we find a lot of humor in this letter, and we find some context for his visit to the Institute of Music on June 21st, or slightly before that. This is a review of that performance by Robert Fenn, the Plain Dealer critic, and he was very descriptive of what was performed and what Milhaud shared as he talked about his life as a composer. And he also refers to the pieces that were performed and who performed them. So both these letters and this review would be considered primary sources. Archives and special collections can be found in many different places. Wouldn't it be nice if they were all in one place? But you will find that the process of research will take you to many different places. It might take you to Europe, to Asia, to Italy, to Russia, because some of these things are only able to be seen in the collections that hold them. We will find things in libraries. As I said, libraries often are given collections that focus around a specific person or topic. If you go to Case Western and the Kelvin Smith Library, next week you will be exploring some of their specific resources, and you will find that composers such as Donald Erb and Marcel Dick have contributed their collections and materials to their library's special collections. Museums, of course, find a lot, and we will look at specifically the American History Museum and how their collections span the whole expansive topic of American history. Arts organizations. One I've chosen for you is the International Clarinet Association, whose archives happens to live at the University of Maryland, who has an active interest in music archives. Governments, of course, have archives. We have our national archives, societies and associations. Private collections. It's hard to find private collections because by nature they do not feel any obligation to share what they have with the larger public. However, some of them have decided to make their collections more widely available, and you will look at the Gladys Palmera archives, which are completely available in some form digitally and are expanding. Corporations, businesses. Every business will have an archive typically, and they are invested in using their archives in their marketing and to document their role in American history or other history. Your assignment will encourage you to delve into these specific types of places that hold archives. For each of these categories, I have provided you an example, and you will look and see what those archives look like and what kind of musical collections you can find within them. Right now we're going to look at Choir Cleveland, just as an example. Of course, I have to figure out how to open link. Here we go. So we're going to look at this article from clevelandclassical.com. It talks about Ross Duffin, who was a musicologist that taught at Case Western Reserve University. And it talks about how he prepared a concert for Choir Cleveland, but focused on the composer William Byrd. And if you read this article further, you'll find that he talks about sourcing the pieces performed from different collections of manuscripts that he's encountered. You will see a specific example of this hopefully next week at the special collections at Case. I would go into it more deeply, but I wanted to show you that from his research he was able to recreate performances and compositions for the modern ensemble he has actively promoted and directed. So we've talked a bit about what archives are, what special collections are. The next part of our presentation will focus on bibliographies. This is just an example.